Just want to chat a little bit about what's actually happening in the market, because there's a lot of people asking questions, what's going on, this, that and the other thing. The media is hyping it up that it's falling apart and it's, it's an apocalypse. The reality is that the market is fine. Yeah, sure, there's less houses coming to market and there's less properties turning over. But just last week, the last couple of weeks, we've been doing a number of deals. There's still plenty of buyers that are wanting to buy property. There's still plenty of sellers that are wanting to sell property at the moment. So deals still will be done. And we just wanted to put some clarity around the fact that that's the reality of the situation at the moment. In terms of pricing, we're not seeing any real price changes at the moment. The last few contracts that we've done were around market or even slightly above. So really that softening in pricing that they're talking about really hasn't been seen, and I don't think will be seen for some time in the Brizzy market, based on what we're experiencing right now and what we're experiencing today. Look, maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks time, it could be a different story. But really, we don't have enough houses still on the market, and we started off the year slow for stock, and the buyers that were wanting to buy are still wanting to buy, and they're still there. I think the plan moving forward, if you are looking to buy a property, is if your plan was to buy a property, then just keep looking and buy. If your plan was to sell a property, and that's going to work in with your overall plan, regardless of what's going on with COVID-19 at the moment, I think the idea would be just keep moving. Business as usual, just on a smaller level. So the other big thing in the market this week, and you might have heard about it in the media, was the discussions around COVID-19 and how that was going to impact the rental side of things. So the RRQ and the state government had got together and had come up with a concept of how they were going to move forward for that with the COVID-19 sort of plan. When it came to legislating it this week, the information that was put out from the state government was very, very different to what had been discussed, and it was very unbalanced. It was very much in the favour of tenants. We're all up for balance, but it was really in favour of the tenants. The main things that they were looking at doing was around extension on automatic extension for 6 months if your lease came up within the 6 months. The 6-month moratorium on eviction still applies, and that's still in. What they were looking at doing was they were looking at extending it for 6 months automatically if your lease came up within the next 6 months. So for some leases that could have taken it out to 12 months. They've scrapped that, and they've just made it to a maximum extension time of the 30th of September, just to give people some security there. And obviously the eviction will only happen if you don't do the right thing, not if it's in relation to COVID-19. So that moratorium's still in place. The other one was in terms of having to substantiate or prove that you had hardship due to COVID-19. That actually said that you didn't have to give any indication. Then they reversed that out and said, yes, now you do. So you have to prove that you have got into hardship based on the changes. The other one was inspections. They'd said, look, we don't want anyone inspecting if the tenant doesn't agree, which posed a heap of safety issues, routine issues, maintenance issues, selling issues. That was the proposal. Then they reversed it out and said, look, no, it's fine, provided that it's a necessary inspection. Then that would have to happen. Also, the tenants would have to participate in letting us through to do inspections, or to let us through to show properties if it was on the market, because it was going to disadvantage the sellers if they needed to sell in that time. The other thing that I was speaking about was you could exit a break lease on the property with 7 days notice and no explanation and no proof that you had any issues from COVID-19. They've actually changed that now, that you have to prove that you're in financial hardship from COVID-19. The other one that they'd spoken about doing was that if you did renegotiate the rent with a tenant, that moving forward you wouldn't be able to actually recoup that money as a landlord. So that would be a complete waiver and not a deferral of payment arrangements. So what they've actually come back and said is that's not fair. So they still want the tenants and the landlords to work in together. However, at this point in time, whatever is agreed to doesn't stay in place beyond that, or for the moment, it gets deferred. So at some point you will have to catch that rent up, provided that you don't drop below those thresholds that we spoke about earlier and go into a real hardship mode. But certainly the renegotiations are temporary, and everybody is working together on that side of things. I think that pretty much sums it up for all of those changes within that legislation. If you weren't across that, then I hope this has helped, and we'll talk to you next week.